Welcome to Sparty Talk, everyone. I am Satchmo, joined by the one, the only, the Thin Man DB. Greetings, DB.
Greetings and salutations, Spartan Nation.
Oh, yeah, the puck is in full effect. That's about the only rubber the Michigan State hockey team is going to be seeing for the next several months. Uh, all right,
Uh, Sad.
sad. Uh, this is not this has not been a good weekend.
No.
It has
Good
not been a good
week.
weekend. Good week,
Yeah.
not yeah, no, it's not been a good week. Michigan State
Yeah.
basketball gone. Michigan State hockey, gone. Michigan State women's basketball, gone.
Yeah.
Three basketball players, possibly gone. We don't know for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
so we will dig into all of that. Kirk Gibson left the building. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to dig in. We're gonna jump into this and get it done. If you're wondering where we're broadcasting from, well, it kind of feels like The Shining to me, so there we go. Uh,
I'll let you know if anybody sneaks up behind you.
yeah, please do. Red Rum.
Keep you posted.
Yeah, keep you
Red
posted.
Rum.
Yeah. So yeah, keep me posted. But I feel like in the middle of a horror show.
I
So
think that's appropriate.
yeah, that's appropriate. So that's where we're going to begin. The horror show that was Michigan State versus Auburn. Uh, Michigan State made it respectable at the end. They lost by 6, which means they covered. For those that are interested in such things,
Yes.
they did manage to do that, but DB throughout the game, it just looked like Auburn was bigger, faster, stronger, and better than Michigan State throughout.
Yeah, that John Broom, is that his name?
Yeah,
He was a beast, man. Even when he got hurt, he came back out. He was still a beast, shooting threes with one arm. Yeah, he probably
yeah,
shouldn't have been out there at that point, but
and
all that is, yeah,
yeah, and when he
uh,
got hurt, Michigan State didn't make a dent into the lead, so it didn't
yeah,
it didn't really matter.
yeah,
It's yeah, it was interesting watching the game because first of all, Michigan State had a lot of open shots that they flat out missed. Layups, three-pointers, all of that sort of stuff that they flat out missed. They picked like the worst possible day of the year to have a god awful shooting night. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it was interesting. They went with Kohler to guard Broom in the beginning, and Broom just torched them. Then they went with bigger defenders that actually had a little more, not a little, a lot more success than Kohler. Cooper did okay, and Zapala was actually pretty effective against Broom. And so I mean, you can see why they went with Kohler, but Zapala and Cooper were far more effective against that. Then the real big question mark is, I mean, two question marks is everyone's on Izzo for like not taking the timeout earlier when they went on that 17-0 run. They're like, if you take it at 10-0, you would have stopped the run and, it would have still been a ball game throughout. I can see the logic. I'm I can see the logic, but I'm not sure it would have mattered because Auburn was just doing whatever it wanted. Offensively, defensively, the game was just too easy for them. The other thing is Jace Richardson was out during that 17-0 run, and they're like, you got to get him back in the game. And I agree, but they were hounding Jace Richardson. I mean, he was tired, and he asked out of the game a couple of times, and so you had to get him a break someplace, and maybe he needed to be in the game to help stem the tide and all of that sort of stuff. But if he wasn't going to be out of the game, then he was going to be out of the game someplace else.
yeah. You know, it's extremely disappointing. It feels like a very missed opportunity because you talked about all those missed shots, and that was the story of the game. I mean, Auburn's a good team. We knew that. Everybody knows that. But I do feel like, gosh, the Spartans make half of those missed shots. I think we're talking about a Final Four trip right now.
Could be. You just make your layups, right? Not
Yeah.
just to make the layup portion of it,
Yeah.
and you're doing okay. And so you make the layup portion. Now it's a competitive game. Uh, and that said, Auburn was just bigger, faster, stronger at every position.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, I mean, a lot of those threes were contested and being shot over long outstretched arms. When Michigan State drove to the basket, you could tell they were affected by Auburn's size. They were looking for it and saying, all right, where's the shot block coming from and all of that sort of stuff. Uh, the player that had surprisingly a good game was Frankie Fiddler.
Yeah.
And maybe he needed a little more run. He seemed to be built for this sort of game. But it was tough sledding on the offensive side of the ball, and they needed. I mean, Kohler had a good game offensively. Richardson had a good game. Akins came on late, but they really needed one more scorer, one more scoring option out there, and they just didn't have it.
Yeah. The trend for this MSU team was, especially in the tournament, was turning it up in the second half. And I thought the Spartans did play better in the second half. I thought, a couple strategies they could have employed a little earlier was, Auburn was getting into big foul trouble. I would have kept just going inside and trying to get those fouls every single time.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Hmm.
I think that would have been good. Uh, the refs were letting a lot of stuff go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't bother me. I mean, they were pretty consistent both ways about it, so I didn't feel like this was a game determined by the ref. Yeah, the other possible thing was sort of like a hack a Shaq sort of approach to it. Is Auburn had some bad free throw shooters, and just maybe 5 minutes left in the game, you're like, all right, bad free throw shooter, let's see what you got.
Right. The other one too that was interesting late in the game was that pressure defense that MSU employed on Auburn. I think that because they were doing that so well, that's something to consider in the future when a team goes on a run, just to break the momentum.
Yeah,
Turn up the pressure game. It's a lot of energy expended, but sometimes you got to do something.
I I like that, and one of the reasons I like that is Michigan State doesn't have a lot of defensive changeups. They're a straight man-to-man team, and they did change it up some. Like when they went, they doubled hard. Later in the first half, and that seemed to have some effect. They stunted, so they did a little. They did a few things that they don't normally do, but I think throwing in a token press every now and then during the game just forces the other team to think, and when the other team is thinking, you've already achieved part of your goal. This is something that other teams use with great effect against Michigan State. They'll go zone, they'll switch up a couple different zones and just force Michigan State to think just a little bit, and that helps. And I think having a couple defensive changeups like that really makes sense.
Yeah, I thought that they really took Auburn off their game, but the clock was becoming the Spartans' enemy by the end.
Yeah, yeah, the clock was,
Yeah,
and look, Akins went on a mini run, a little mini heater, and it wasn't enough. It's bigger, faster, stronger.
yeah,
Yeah, sometimes it's about strategies and sometimes it's about players. And I felt this was a game that was about players. They had bigger, faster, stronger, more skilled guys. And,
yeah,
you know, Michigan State, especially at the wing and the perimeter, needs some of those guys. They need like 6'7", 6'8" guys playing out in the wing and out in the perimeter.
yeah.
And so I think that sort of has to be the next evolution of the Michigan State program. Professional segue. The next evolution of the Michigan State program. Trey Holloman into the transfer portal, DB. Say Garrick Norman into the transfer portal, Xavier Booker into the transfer portal. Those are the three that we know about so far. Maybe there'll be more. Maybe there won't. Who knows? Let's start with Trey Holloman. on a scale of 1 to 10. How surprised were you to see Trey Holloman in the transfer portal?
Hmm. Well, if you asked me that type of question 5 years ago, I'm at a 10. Shock. Now, these days, 4.
Yeah. So first of all, it happened on April Fool's Day. And when I saw Trey Holloman entering the transfer portal, my first thought was, what a terrible April Fool's joke. Whose sense of humor is this?
Yeah.
And I just assumed it was an April Fool's joke. I was wrong. Can we in the future just say the transfer portal isn't open on April Fool's Day? I mean, can that just be a
Yeah.
thing where
Or
it's
or
open on March 31st, it's open on April 2nd, but it's closed for business on April Fool's Day?
and maybe you can help us out here in Spartan Nation a little bit, Satchmo, but I'm sitting there wondering why can't the transfer portal just wait until
Yes.
2 days after the national championship? Why
I,
does it have to be all of a sudden
I,
while
I,
the tournament's going?
I'm in 100% agreement. Let it wait for after the national championship is done. And that does two things. One, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Allergies suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the air is greener than Michigan State green with pollen right now. It's just
We love Michigan
disgusting.
State green, but not on the allergies.
Yeah, yeah, not in the allergy department, not in the pollen
Yeah.
department. You got thick coatings of pollen wherever you walk around these days. It's just, oh. Uh, but I agree because the transfer portal, what you want is you want the coaching cycles to be done, right? And we still got people being hired and fired. Thank you, Maryland. And by the way,
Yeah.
I hadn't planned on bringing this up, but
Sure, go ahead.
what a douchebag Kevin Willard is.
I know. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. They lost their whole team. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
negotiating in public and publicly complaining about it in the middle
Yeah.
of the NCAA tournament while your team is still playing?
Yeah. 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 There were local yokel commentators who were okay with that. I'm not. I
No.
mean, if your season is still going on, don't do that to your players.
Yeah.
If you want to have conversations about that behind the scenes, sure. Like I understand his frustration. I
Yeah.
totally agree with his
Oh,
frustration, but not out in public.
yeah. Oh, well, I don't even have a problem with the out in public part. It's just the timing part, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
timing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let the tournament be about the kids. If
Right.
like 5 seconds after you're eliminated, say this wouldn't have happened if Maryland had more NIL money, God bless you. I'm all for that.
Right. Right.
But but at least make the tournament about the kids and not about you.
Yeah,
Uh, but
exactly.
but this goes back to the transfer portal, right? Is
Yeah.
that everyone's trying to get a jump on recruiting players in the transfer portal also because it's open. Well, move it to after the national championship. Let the coaching, hiring, and firing be done. Let the kids that play for the national championship teams let them have a chance to join in on whatever rush to the portal you're going to have without like University of Michigan had like one player enter the transfer portal while they were still in the tournament, and it's like, look,
Yeah.
dude, it's like I understand why the player did it. He's like, I got to go find a school to play at. I'm not playing here,
Yeah. It
and
shouldn't be
so
going on. Yeah. It
it
shouldn't be
shouldn't be
going on.
going on. So yeah, yeah, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trey Holloman to the portal, I was pretty surprised.
Okay, you were. Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised, and then I realized I shouldn't be. And the reason I shouldn't be surprised is that if you think about the way NIL works, right? Uh, you've got a pie of money that needs to be divided up over an entire basketball team. And inevitably, the larger chunks of that pie are going to go to, your high recruits, your big name players, all of that sort of stuff. And Trey Holloman's looking at a situation where he's not going to play NBA ball. At least I don't think he is. He might play over in Europe, and he might have a good career in Europe, but he's not going to play NBA ball. And he could make more money in NIL in his last season in the US than he would in a professional season in Europe. And so he's got to look at that and say, hey, let me see what I can do to secure that money and secure that thing. Because if you think about it, all right, if Jace Richardson comes back, well, he's going to be the highest player. Then what? Jackson Kohler after that, then Cohen Carr after that. All right, you've already got three players ahead of him in terms of the big money NIL deals. Then probably our point guard, Jeremy Fears. He's probably had a Trey Holloman in the NIL money. And so when you think about it, then you've got like two stud incoming freshmen. All right, now they're probably ahead of him in the NIL money. And now he's slipping towards the back of the pack in terms of NIL money. And he's like, all right, well, let me see what's out there because we know I'm going to go play in Europe. I pretty much maximize what I can do with my career. Let me see if I can play one more year, change of scenery, maybe get more than 18 minutes a game, maybe get more than 25 minutes a game, get up into that 32, 33 minutes a game, and really be a centerpiece of something. And
Right.
so I kind of get it. I kind of get it. I kind of understand it. And it's also why I think he might come back. He might test the
He
market
could.
and say, hey, you want to know what? The market isn't what I thought it was going to be. Let me stay with Michigan State.
Yep. And that would be an opportunity for Michigan State to pony up a little bit and see what they can do for him NIL wise also.
Yeah, yeah. Garrick Normand, I don't think he was ever going to get playing time at Michigan State. Injuries have really short-circuited his career here. Great scout team contributor. He needs to go someplace where he can play. Booker is the interesting one in that massive talent, and that's developing slowly. And it's one of those things where will a change of scenery help? Possibly. Uh, he's not going to have the same NIL deal this year that he had the last 2 years. So he's looking at a quote unquote pay cut. And he's like, all right, is there a school that he can go to where he gets at least the same amount of money? Maybe because people are going to look at his talent and say, come on down. We'll do something with you that Izzo didn't. And I'm going to guess that wherever Xavier Booker lands, he's going to be better next year than he was this year because he's been getting better. And a lot of the reason he's been getting better is because Izzo's been coaching him hard. And so, and then the other reason for Booker to leave is I wouldn't want to deal with Michigan State fans anymore if I was Xavier Booker. Holy cow. Fans kill him on a nightly basis. And it's just like, all right, I'm going to go someplace where the expectations are lower, where people are happy to have me around, and I don't have to deal with this nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah, these problems too, Satchmo, that you mentioned with transfer portals and also fans are widespread around college basketball and college sports now, and
Yeah.
so much so that we're even seeing like I'm hearing commercials and PSAs during the telecasts and radio broadcasts about stop harassing the students over your bets and all this stuff. Like, it's just it's getting out of hand.
Yeah, it's getting out of
Yeah,
hand. It,
yeah,
it just is. Leave them
yeah,
alone. They're 18 to
yep,
22-year-old kids. I don't care if they're
yeah,
getting paid. They're 18 to 22-year-old kids. Do
right.
not make them the object of your obsession, your hatred, your emotional outbursts, any of that sort of stuff.
Exactly. Yep. And then I don't know if you're ready to talk about this, but the other one too that's sort of on the fence here a little is Jace Richardson obviously is going
Yeah,
to, rightfully test the NBA water and see. And it's, if he's projected in the first round, he had a great season, why wait, right?
my working theory, if you're projecting the first round, you go. Because
Yeah.
you get the clock started on your second contract. I mean that's
Yeah, that's right.
really what it is.
That's
And
right.
And it really almost doesn't matter where in the first round you're projected to go. If you're projected to go in the first round, you go because if you end up with a lottery team, you're making a lot of money. If you don't end up
Yep.
with a lottery team, you're playing on a good basketball team. Either
Yep.
way, you win. Uh,
Yep.
yeah,
Unless he's told for some unbelievable reason, like, he's hurt or, he's dropped, then you come back and make it
yeah,
another. I mean, kudos to him if he really wants to try and go to the Final Four.
yes,
But if I was him, I wouldn't wait.
yeah. The case for coming back, and there is a player development case for him coming back, is playing for a full year of being the man, which means that you are at the top of the scouting report. Defenses are going to throw everything they can at you. You're going to see the best defenders across the country. The same way in the NBA, you'll see the best defenders every night. You will see this here, and you will learn how to deal with that on a night in and night out basis. So there is a player development case to be made for Jace Richardson coming back. And you learn to deal with it. You make sure you have the physical conditioning and the strength and all of that stuff to do it. So there's a good case for it. Uh, so I'd understand if he came back. I mean,
Yeah.
there isn't a bad case, but I mean, there's a good case for him to come back. But I'm of the opinion that if you're going in the first round, you got to go.
Also, too, the one intangible here is, his father, of course, Jason,
Yes.
who played for the Spartans, did stay 2 years, and so his father might say some of those things to him that you just mentioned, like, you do that one more year here, and
Yeah.
you're really gonna develop. You put on some more muscle, you might even be a higher pick, and who
Yeah.
knows?
Who
Like
knows? Yeah.
it's possible that his dad could say that to him. So
Yeah. We'll see. I
yeah,
hope
we'll
he.
see.
I mean, for the sake of Michigan State basketball, I hope he stays. For the sake of himself, I just hope he makes the best decision for him. And
Absolutely.
he's got a good family and support system around him. And
Yep.
I
Yep.
know he will.
And same with Trey Holloman and Xavier Booker. I wish him well.
Yeah,
They don't come back, especially Holloman. If he doesn't come back, I love the guy. He had a great year for the Spartans, and the thing is now just the way college sports is, you enjoy the moment and it's still the uniform and the team that you root for,
yeah,
and
it
that's
is.
it,
And
Yep.
and it's honestly something we're gonna have to get used to as fans, right? Is the years where players are here for 4 years, gone. Forget about it. And I do think we are headed in a direction where schools and players are going to be expected to sign contracts and that sort of stuff. And so, but we're a few years away from that. So for
Yeah.
now, this is what it is. And you
Yeah.
can't complain about it. You can't worry about it. You just got to enjoy them for as long as they're here. Root for the name on front of the shirt and, make sure the referees aren't screwing the whole deal up. Uh, and so I Final four before we transition to women's hoops. Final four. Who do you like?
Well, definitely Auburn to the championship the way they played. I know Florida's good. The caveat there would be, if Broom's not fully
Yeah,
healthy and he doesn't look good, that could be Florida there, but I'm still going Auburn, just based on their toughness and their, the depth. And I think Duke, and unfortunately, I think Duke's going to win it all. How about you?
here's the interesting thing. I think Houston's going to win it all. I could be wrong, but what I don't think I'm wrong about is if Duke beats Houston, they're going to be so physically beat up by playing Houston, they're not going to have enough gas to win the national championship. uh, Playing Houston is the same as playing the Detroit Lions in football last year, right? No one won the week after they played the Detroit Lions because they were just so beat up. They couldn't recover. And there were years that was the same about Michigan State. Every game lost the game after they played Michigan State. Win or lose, they lost that next game because Michigan State was just so physical and so strong. And I feel like Houston is the new Michigan State in that standpoint. Excuse me. And so that's why I just don't see Duke winning. whether they lose to
Well,
Houston or they're out of gas in the next game. I like Houston, but if Duke beats Houston, that's great. I just don't think they have enough energy to win two because Houston will beat the living daylights out of them.
I'll be hoping you're right.
Yeah, well, I think
Mm.
most of the country will. Uh,
Unless you're in Durham, North Carolina.
Unless you're in Durham, North Carolina.
Mm.
And so, uh, excuse me. Uh, Geez, allergies.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Shall we
I'm gonna,
pivot over to talk about women's
yeah,
basketball real
yeah,
quick?
yeah,
And
yeah. I'm gonna let you take the lead. I'm just gonna go find myself a water, but I'm gonna let you get started.
all right, sure. I'll go ahead and speak to the masses here for a couple minutes.
Yep.
Callers out there were like picking that game as the upset we talked about on the last podcast, and everyone thought Harvard was going to defeat the MSU women, but that was not the case. The MSU women turned up the defense. They had some good offense. They played a good game, and they knocked Harvard out of the tournament, which then left them with the number 2 seed in their region, NC State. And, look, I think if you go back and listen to the podcast before this, Satchmo and I were pretty clear that, beating NC State was going to be a tough situation for this Michigan State team. Um, Michigan State got blown out. I mean, let's not even kid ourselves about that. I believe at one point in the game, through the dizzying array of North Carolina offense, it was 38-9 at one point. When the Spartans start losing that badly, Satchmo, I need to get up for some type of beverage, often an
Yeah.
adult one,
Yeah, it was awful. It was it was god awful.
because shooting the lights off and then some. It didn't even matter who had an NC State jersey on; they were shooting.
Yeah, it's
Um, and Michigan State never could come back from that deficit and lost by 40 some. And it wasn't the only blowout of the women's tournament. I mean, we saw other Big Ten teams crumble like crumble cake, just like most of the conference just went down the tubes, early, and sometimes in pretty ridiculous fashion to the point here now where they're all gone.
no.
The unfortunate
Yeah.
situation.
Well, UCLA is still there, flying the flag of the Big Ten.
UCLA,
Yeah, UCLA is in the Final Four.
or I lost track of that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
They made it. Yeah, they
they
got
made it.
out, but they're going to be playing. Yeah, they're going to be playing UConn.
Yeah, and USC would have beaten UConn if they had Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, that was extremely sad and unfortunate. And, she's still one player of the year, and hopefully she can come back next year, obviously, such a tough loss. That's one of those things where you sort of knew with Juju that, yeah, that she
Yeah,
really like stirs the drink there.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
going back to Michigan State, I mean, I don't think it's anything to hang their heads about. Like we were saying, Satchmo, it was going to be very difficult, no matter what the score was, to beat NC State. That's a really, really polished, good program. Where Michigan State can look at that and say that's where they aspire to be in the near
Yes.
future. Um, so anyway, I do have a few sort of general women's basketball comments, but before I do that, any comments on Michigan State?
Let's Michigan State had a good season. I'm proud of
Yeah.
them. It is a definite step forward. You can see what the vision of the program is, and now they've got to go ahead and get the players and the talent to fit that vision. So I think it's a good first step for the program. The program has an identity, it has a good coach, and now it needs to add to the talent pool that's already there because there are some good players there. Now they just need to keep adding to that talent pool.
Mhm.
So the next time they play NC State, they'll blow them out. I mean that's yeah.
All right. All
That's
right.
where we want to be.
Yeah.
That said, I used to like Gino Oriana.
I like the used to. Used to.
Used to. He used to be. I mean, he used to be. I tell it like it is. I got the best players. I'm going to win. And all of this sort of stuff. And he had a good finger on the pulse of women's basketball, college basketball, pro basketball, and should talk voluminously about it and all that sort of. He's annoying now. Every time I see Gino, it just, I just want to tell him to shut up and dribble. Uh,
He's turned
anyway,
into the get off my lawn
yeah,
grandpa.
yeah. So you've
Yeah.
got his statements teed up. Why don't you go ahead and get into a little bit about what you're thinking about him?
So the one that really got me was, the Gino got into the ranting and the whining, which he's now doing sort of after the games, even though UConn's doing well. And it's kind of I don't know if it's a distraction or what it is, but the one that really stuck out to me was the recent comments that he made about the two host regional system in the women's tournament. And he basically is, in so many words, saying it's ruining the game. And he's right on one level that people aren't able to make it to these regionals from, if UConn's way out in Spokane, which they were, that, their alumni are not out there, Um, but I also look at it this way too. It's like, the regular season is important to get those, high seeds. And I
Yeah.
know that they were, I know that they were a higher seed. They were not a number one seed, but they
No,
were
there
a
were two
higher
seed.
seed.
Yeah, there were
They were
two seed.
two. And so, the committee rewards you when you're a one seed to play closer to home, or, like Auburn did in the men's tournament in Atlanta. And so you got to go play them all. You got to go play them all somewhere, and they've won. That's the thing,
Yeah.
Like, we're still like
Eh,
kind of
eh,
griping about
I
this.
know. And how many times have Michigan State had to go out to the West Coast to play in a tournament, like the men, and they as a two
Yeah.
seed, as a three seed, as a one seed. Stop being a whiny baby. Look, is I mean, if you want to say they did the two regionals because they were trying to consolidate it and draw more player interest, and if you want to say women's basketball has grown to the point where we don't need to do two regionals, we can have four regionals in four different regions, and draw the attention and draw the crowds, and let's spread it out to help grow the game. That is a reasonable argument to be made, right? And it would be probably a very effective and factual argument. It's entirely possible that that's where we are in the growth of women's basketball. You want to go to the four regions of the country because you want to have different sites that help grow the game and grow the popularity. That makes sense. Women's basketball wasn't at that point a little while back. They are now. And
Ever instead of south, west,
yeah, yeah. So
east.
yeah, but I mean, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and
Yeah.
make that argument. I'm all for that argument, but to make the argument that, oh, poor UConn alumni can't make it to the game, give me a break. Uh,
Nah, they can afford plane tickets.
yeah,
And the fact is that, um, look at the draw you got, and you got a little lucky,
yeah,
you got very lucky not having to play Juju, but at the same time, you're in the Final Four, and
yeah.
I think there's a lot of things to be talking about. I think, like if you're talking about women's basketball, well, let's talk about, some of the other disparities, the
Yes. Yeah, you got pay disparities.
abilities
You
that
got to,
actually didn't have to work out in the Holiday Inn,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that stuff. That's more important than, where what region you have to go to. But yeah, you're right. The game has grown, and I loved our idea from the last podcast that, let us see, like, let the audiences see different games of each, at the
Yeah,
same time, kind of rotated around.
yeah, no, I agree with that. All right. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Could I,
There's
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you want to switch gears to hockey real fast?
Can I just can I make my comment about I just want to do a quick call out on the broadcasting.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Go after it. It
Yeah,
is
on the women. Okay,
media criticism time with Satchmo and
yeah,
DB.
right. If we had a graphic, it would be, media criticism, media criticism. So basically, here's where I'm at with this. So in the men's tournament, in terms of the broadcasters, I'm satisfied, with what I'm
Yes.
hearing, and there's energy and everything. One thing, some of the studio analysts on the women's game, um, talking in cliches too much, and one particular studio analyst was calling the NC State blow one particular team that did the blowout. And even they were probably bored after about, a
Yeah.
quarter and a half. I mean, that's not a great game. How you define great game would be like something really close, like to the end. That was like, that Maryland Alabama game.
Yeah.
That was a great game. Like that was unbelievable. It turned out
Yes.
to be, but not that. So it's sort of a combination of like, kind of coming up with the right adjectives to describe, these games, but then also too like some is an ESPN trap a little bit. There's more things to say. There's more
Yeah.
things to talk about. Just saying, well, that's no, that's not a good shot. The announcer already just said that. We can see it's not a good shot. Ad does that, give us more. Give us a
Yeah.
little bit more like energy and a little bit more like stuff. And there are some that do it, and there are some that just like want to put me to sleep.
Yeah. I think at a certain point you have to trust that the audience is not basketball savvy, but it has a little bit of basketball intelligence, which is to say, yes, we could tell when something's a good shot and not a good shot, but explain why. It's like, oh, I mean, saying like, oh, she shot that too quick is much better than saying, oh, it's a bad shot. So, yeah, it's I agree. I'm with you,
Yeah.
DB. It's giving it that extra bit of context, like shooting it too quick, or should have swung that one side to side, or should have made one more pass, is much better than just going, oh, bad shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about that stuff. Talk about what you're seeing. Let's see the replays be better. No, let's not cut to commercial when somebody gets hurt and then just sort of like leave us there with nothing when you come
Yes.
back and no like context. Well, what happened to her? Like, what's going on? Like, it's just like very poor. And also too, just going deeper inside. Like, I could see in that South Carolina Maryland game where Maryland played extremely well and had South Carolina on the hook and very nervous to the end of the game. The little things matter, I said to myself. What I would have loved to have heard there was the color analyst saying, okay, this is what's tipping the game right here. Watch this South Carolina defense. Maryland's trying to inbound the ball, and it's pure coaching for South Carolina. Dawn
Yep.
Staley is a terrific coach, and her staff knowing where that ball is going to go just to block a pass that's coming out like this.
Yep.
Talk about that a little bit more. That's like the difference right there
Yeah.
between you're in the Final Four or you're not.
Yep.
And I didn't hear that. I'm not hearing that analysis, and it's frustrating.
Nope. I agree. I'm with you. So yeah, definitely to get more and better on that,
Yeah.
and trust the viewer. The viewers there, they're with you.
Yep. Yep. Um, And let's see. But yeah, overall women's tournament. I know Satchmo, when we talked before, when we were making our picks, you had the UCLA women cutting down the nets. Are you
Yeah.
still
Still,
there?
I'm sticking with it. I think they're the best team in the country.
I still got South Carolina,
All right. Let's
and
see
they're
what
both there.
happens. Yeah, let's yeah, both there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Shifting over to hockey, which could
Yes.
possibly
Ugh.
be even more disappointing than the men's tournament and the women's tournament. Michigan State going in as the number one seed in their region, the number two seed overall in the country, loses in the first round. That sucked.
Yeah, that was shocking to me. Disappointing. I know that college hockey, anything can happen, but you know, there's a thing here where when you're in big tournament games, you have to show a little bit of discipline. I love that Michigan State hockey plays a physical game, but you cannot put a team, no matter who they are,
Yep.
on the power play with 1 minute to go in the game and your season's on the line. You have the penalty has to be legit. If somebody's, streaking down the ice on a breakaway
Yep.
and you got to hook them, yeah, okay. You know what? I'll take that penalty, but don't ram somebody into the wall or,
Yeah.
like you just gotta watch it. And too many times I've seen the Michigan State hockey team kind of do that in situations. And I think they were physically, and Ohio State physically burned out from that
Yeah. It could
three
be. Yeah, the
overtime.
three
It was
overtime
it
game.
was and I guess I don't want to start like ripping everything here because I want to seem whiny, but the idea of starting on Thursday and having Michigan State and Ohio State and a couple of these other teams that played really late on Saturday, starting on Thursday, was a bit of a head scratcher to me.
Yeah.
That should have been
Yeah.
Friday, Sunday to me. I don't know.
I agree. So there are a few things here that I just want to dive into. First of all, Michigan State had control of the first two periods of the game. They did not have control of that third period. It looked like they started to play with their food a little bit, and they got beat.
Yeah,
So that's and you can't win if you don't play three periods. Just
right.
can't do it.
You got to go get that other goal too. You can't
Yeah,
just sit back. Yep.
you can't sit back. And so, I mean, to the degree that Michigan State deserved to lose the game, you've got that. Uh, the second part is I agree with you. I think that overtime game took a lot out of them, and they just didn't recover, and they look like a team that hadn't recovered from that. So that's the second thing. The third thing, ESPN Plus, really. Can we not get this on real TV?
I know. I saw that too, and I was like, and there was another game too, and it's just like, yeah, this is ridiculous. Like, don't give us that.
Yeah, don't give us that. So you've got that aspect of it. They were playing close to home, had the home ice advantage, all this sort of stuff. They should have won the game.
Yep.
I mean, that's the bottom line. They should have won the game. They should still be playing. I would like to see hockey move to double elimination.
Yes.
I think double elimination makes so much more sense in the NCAA tournament than a single elimination tournament because
Yep.
weird, fluky things happen in hockey. And and here's it. First of all, the hockey season's so stupid, right? They begin in October or something like that, and they
Yeah.
play until April. It's got to be
Yeah.
the longest season in college sports.
Yes.
It's and
Right.
and to get down to it just makes zero sense whatsoever. And
I
and,
agree.
and so if the season's going to be played so long, go to double elimination at least.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to me that just makes
Yeah.
way more sense.
And yeah, we could shorten up these college tournaments, these
Yeah,
conference tournaments. They don't need to be stretched out over 3 weekends. Like,
yeah,
the people
exactly.
at the bottom of the standings, you
Yeah,
don't, if you finished at the bottom, sorry,
yeah,
you're
go
not
home.
playing.
Yeah,
You
go
go
home.
home. Yeah.
Go home.
You know,
And if you want to do the Frozen Four as single elimination, I'm okay with that. And so make
that's
the lead
fine.
up, yeah,
Yeah.
make the lead up to it double
Yeah.
elimination and make the
Yeah.
Frozen Four single elimination.
Yeah, there's room on the schedule this week to have, a little bit more college hockey because you could sandwich that around the women's
Yeah.
and the men's Final Four. It's easy.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're starting in October. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Just seriously, just for the
Yeah.
love of God, figure it
Some's
out.
got to be done about that. I think they used to do that a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the 90s they ended that and because ESPN got more involved. But yeah, we did just a couple of notes about Spartan hockey. I believe David Gucciardi and Joey Larson have gone off and signed NHL deals. Can't blame them, on
Yeah,
that.
good
They
for
were
them.
drafted. Trey Augustine is coming back, which is great. I think the backup goalie entered the transfer portal. Augustine's a redshirt sophomore, I think.
Yeah.
So he and the Wings, decided that he's got he's got more to develop,
he,
and I
he,
think that's great for
he's got more to
MSU.
develop, and he's going to get more playing time in Michigan State than he will in the minors.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's the most important thing. They want him on the ice playing.
The other interesting one that's come up here, and I don't know how this can happen in this day of these NHL teams have cap people that work for them. Isaac Howard, who's the captain, or not the captain, but one of the leading scorers in MSU, is kind of in this quandary here right now where he can't sign with Tampa Bay because they don't have cap space. And it's how does that end up happening? Like, who did someone mismanage the
It's it,
numbers? Like,
it,
should
it,
that
it,
person be fired?
it's
Like,
all part of the Iser plan.
wait, did Eiserman mess that up for them? Is that? Oh my gosh, Satchmo. I mean,
Oh,
they have like $8,000 left, and Isaac Howard's like,
yeah.
well, maybe I'm coming back to MSU next year. Is this just like, what are you guys
What are you
doing?
doing?
Like, yeah. I mean, I'm selfish. If Isaac comes back, awesome.
Yeah,
But that's really bizarre to
yeah.
me. Like, yeah.
All right. All right, we're gonna end the show on a bit of a sad note. Kirk Gibson, stepping away from the Tigers broadcast booth. Uh, I'll go first on this just because I wanted to get this out there. He's stepping away because he's got Parkinson's, and his Parkinson's is getting to the point where he can't broadcast on a regular basis. My dad has Parkinson's. It is a brutal, brutal disease that just sucks the life out of the people that have it. And they go from the person that you knew and loved to people that struggle to communicate and struggle to be heard and struggle to move around. And, they could go for years being fine. And then one day, all of a sudden, it's just completely different. And it is a brutal, awful thing. I hope they find a cure for it sometime soon, but I wish Kirk Gibson nothing but the best in this because, I know what it's like to have a family member with Parkinson's. And so I just hope that Kirk, you know, has a good quality of life the rest of the way.
Yeah, I couldn't say more than that. That was very good, Satchmo. I agree. Gibby is a Spartan forever and a Tiger forever. And yeah, I too have somebody in my life that is Parkinson's, and it's vicious disease. And I support anything, any way we can find a cure for that would be incredible. And wish Gibby all the best of
Yeah,
health. And he's got to take care of himself now. I'll miss him, his commentary in the booth, but he's got to do what's best right now.
yeah, yeah. We're gonna miss him, and hopefully one day we do get a cure for this. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's it for this edition of Sparty Talk. We hope you had a good time listening. We hope you're not too depressed after hearing all about this. But my guess is you feel like we do, and so it's good to get the feelings out in the open. And the therapist couch is now closed. Till next
There's
time,
another day, there's another season.
there's another season, but no spring game. Bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.